What's happening, Newt?
How's it going, Fish? I heard we have a coach.
Indeed, indeed. Pretty excellent weekend, despite the fact that this is football season and we lost the last game of the season. Um, Speak on that for about 30 seconds. LSU lost to Oklahoma 17 to 13, which somehow secures Oklahoma a playoff spot.
Yes,
Um,
everything else worked
Oklahoma
right for
Oklahoma looked like ass. We should have beat them. Multiple times we should have beat them.
him.
I knew we were going to lose when in the first series of the game, Harold Perkins intercepted that ball and he's running it back, and you're like, he's going to score. This is a pick six, and he got knocked out of bounds by John Mateer of all. John Mateer ran Harold Perkins down and pushed him out of bounds, and I was like, well, first and goal, shit,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we threw an interception.
Yes.
I'm like, that's ball game right there.
Pretty much. I missed that. I saw the replay of it, but I did miss the first quarter. Um, it is what it is. We went into this not really expecting to win, and we didn't. But bigger and better things happened for us this weekend, which is obviously great, except it sucks that we didn't get to do a full-on coaching search type podcast that to discuss before it happened. But
Yeah, we were trying to wait till the season ended, but here we
yeah,
are.
yeah, and man, I was driving home Sunday, and I'm not gonna lie, it was actually pretty good for a drive listening on the radio because a whole lot of dominoes fell in a short period of time,
Oh
really
yeah.
rapid succession, which was great. I wish I could have picked up more on some local news as our situation was unfolding, but man, Fish, we got your guy.
You should have called me. I could have given you all the news.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I knew that we hired him. I was waiting to
I was
hear.
literally exhausted, dude. I
Yeah,
literally like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I'm not sure I slept. I was following every moment of it. And it was funny because I was telling you guys anyway, and I didn't want to come off and jinx it, but I was telling you guys, Nooch knows, he'll tell you. I was telling
yeah,
the guys in private, I'm like, yeah, it's lame. It's lame. I knew it was. And I knew it. I was very confident.
right.
But even
I,
even on Saturday when they were like, people start, hey, is he trolling us and all this? I'm like, no, just wait. Just wait. I
I
promise,
was, and I tell you that too. I was confident. Um, but I've seen these shows enough times now. I've seen this movie enough to
I get
know
it.
that it's not done until it is actually done. And that's pretty much what I was waiting on. And it was like, okay, yeah, this is happening, but I wanted it to happen before,
Sure.
you know, before I went with it.
Well,
And
and people were so, I don't know, just guarded. And I don't know if it was just because Lane Kiffin did something in 2008 that people still hold against him, or if it's because we've been we've been duped before
I
multiple
think
times,
um
or a combination. I don't know.
mine was more my hesitancy was more in the very unique situation that this particular one was in. Um
Yeah.
we went into Saturday with Ole Miss having a shot at getting into the SEC championship game. I mean, they already were pretty much locked up a home playoff spot that was almost guaranteed, was the worst their season was going to end. Um, and shit, deep into the fourth quarter, there was a realistic shot that Auburn could pull the upset in that game, and Ole Miss would have been in the SEC title game. And those, man, you can say what you want. LSU is a better situation long term than Ole Miss is. And I
It was
believe
already a
Kiffin
done
is
deal,
a
though.
tough.
It was already a done deal, though.
It's not done until you sign that piece of
I get
paper.
it.
And I'm just saying things like that have a way of maybe swaying a guy like, hey, holy shit, I can win an SEC title right now and go on a run. And it's hard to walk away from that because he spent 6 years building this.
Mhm.
So I get that desire of wanting to try to finish it. Excuse me, wanting to try to finish it out and just I needed it to actually finalize and happen before I was 100% on board saying that, yeah, okay, we got it just because of this particular spot that he was in.
Well, anyway, there's conversation on the board about that at GameDayTigers.com
Yes.
about, you know, who who's the bad guy in all this or whatever. The bottom line is this is Ole Miss screwed themselves, and I will
I
stick
agree.
by that 100%. And if you don't agree with me, that's okay, but it's okay to be wrong. But the bottom line
Yeah.
is when Lane Kiffin said early on, I want to coach this team to the end because of everything you just said. He spent 6 years building this, and
Yeah.
this is his team, and he wanted to see it through. And Ole Miss, I'm sorry, LSU said, we're good with that.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
Ball's in your court, Ole Miss. And Ole Miss said, nah, dog, that ain't happening. And you know what? Here's the thing that I think people miss. I don't disagree with Ole Miss. I
oh
wouldn't
no,
let
not
him
at all.
either. But
Not
the
at
thing
all.
is, where they screwed up is they should have said, no problem. Do it, Lane. And because you're getting at least a playoff game. All you got to do is beat Mississippi State and you're in the playoff.
Yeah.
That's it. And so a playoff game, now you're nearly to January and you missed uh
You miss
NSD, you
yeah,
missed National Signing Day, you're nearly to January, you win that, and if you host a playoff
yeah.
game, you,
Oh yeah.
you're probably
You
gonna
got
win it. So
you're
you
getting
win that game, you're past the portal. The
you're right
portal
at
window. And LSU and
you're at
Florida, this is the
yeah,
bottom line. LSU and Florida ain't waiting on that. You are not
correct.
waiting. LSU can say, oh, we're good with it, Lane, but bullshit. And if
Yeah.
you don't have it, like you said, if ink ain't on paper, dude, at that point, I would have been, if I'm LSU, I'm saying, dude, let's go look for Dillingham or somebody. Freeman,
Yeah.
throw the bank at Freeman, whatever. And
Yeah.
Ole Miss screwed up.
Basically, yeah. Where they screwed up was when they forced the ultimatum with a timeline publicly.
Yeah, they did the
When they
exact opposite of what they should have done.
correct went publicly because, and I mentioned it on the forum, one team told Lane every single thing he wanted to hear
Yep,
publicly.
LSU.
The other told him the exact opposite of what he wanted to hear. And guess what? He went with the guys who told him what he wanted to hear. Now
And
look
then there
behind.
was that other team. I don't know if you followed the Florida side, but I
I,
did.
I, I saw that. Yeah.
They kept saying they were moving in silence, like the G in lasagna. I'm like, you morons. You-
Well, from
we-
from what I read, they pretty much burned that bridge with the first interview. The very
sure.
first interview, just the way it went down, they wanted to bring in their own GM from an
Yep.
NFL team, and that guy wasn't even going to answer the lane, and this and this. It's like, and LSU played it right.
Well, you know what Florida is and why that made sense to them is because they're a basketball school.
Yeah.
And so
Oh,
that's why. So congrats
LSU,
on John Summerall, Florida.
right? LSU came out and told Lane, look, whatever you're doing right now is working. Bring that here,
Yep.
and we'll give you the commitment you need. Whatever else you need, resources and commitment, we'll give to you. But whatever you're doing now is working good enough for us to approach you. Whereas Florida says, yeah, what you're doing is working, but look, we're going to do things different than what you're doing now. Well,
Yeah.
no, what he's doing now is what's winning.
Yep.
So obviously, and always there'll be some caveat or restrictions there. You're not just gonna give him free reign to do whatever the hell he wants. But
Well,
for the most part, you keep your structure, your setup. That's what works. Bring it here. That's what we want. That's what we need. That's what we're looking for is your success.
you say you're not going to give him free reign. We're going to throw some props at Verge Osbury, who out AD'd Scott Strickland and Keith Carter, who were long-standing athletic directors.
Yep,
He out AD'd them so bad, y'all. So
absolutely.
props to Verge Osbury. But
100%.
he was asked in his press conference today what it was like dealing with Verge Osbury, and he said basically Verge said, "Hey, we love what you're doing. Come do it here. We'll get out of your way."
Right. Yeah, and as long as you're not committing any kinds of felonies or NCAA violations, that type of thing, yeah, go do.
Yeah.
You're you're the coach, which that was what really made Nick Saban as successful as he was, is Nick forced that upon the administration when he first got here, and it
Yep.
worked. And the
Yeah, it
farther
did.
we got away from that, the more and more boosters, administration, different people started to get involved and started putting their hands on things, and you could see we got away from the level that we were at that time. And
So when I don't want to insult John Summerall, but and so I don't mean that he's a bad coach or that Florida's not going to be good because they hired John Summerall. What I mean is clearly this is where LSU hit a home run. Lane Kiffin was the number one coach on everybody's board that thought they had a chance with him.
yeah, correct. And even people who didn't think they have a chance, that was the guy. It was, hey, if you can land anybody, who do you want? It was across the board, it was Lane Kiffin.
He mentioned that he kept mentioning four schools during his press conference. So obviously LSU, Ole Miss, and Florida. Who is the other one? They were the ones that were moving in silence because nobody knows who he was talking about. But I think it
I'm
was Penn State, actually.
I'm gonna guess Auburn.
Some people say Auburn, but he had the chance to go to Auburn a few years ago and didn't. So I don't know. Maybe so though. It could have been Auburn.
I don't, yeah, it may be Penn State. I don't know. I'm not sure. It, you know what? Could be even an Oklahoma State, somebody like that who has a couple of deep pockets here and there.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been them. Um,
Point being, those
I
are the
could see
schools that were all
Arkansas
of those
reaching out
schools
there.
would have loved to have had Lane Kiffin.
Right.
Arkansas, Kentucky, Mark Stoops just got fired. Any
Yeah.
school with an opening, Lane Kiffin would have been choice number one if they thought they could pull it off, and LSU pulled it off.
Right.
Somehow, after the circus that
It was an
began when
absolute circus.
Jeff Landry and just pitched a tent over at LSU Athletics.
Yeah.
The circus tent began, and somehow LSU winds up with the number one coach available.
Yeah. And he is. It's the first time in my life I can ever remember LSU landing the guy who was the clear target in any sport.
In
Like,
any sport. I'm glad you said that because Newt and
yeah,
I were
because
talking
you
about it.
brought it up before we got on,
Yeah.
and somehow we pulled this off. And honestly, this is how we should always, obviously, depending on who else is available. But there's only a handful of schools in the entire country that can honestly, really, truly make an argument for being a better job, a better spot to be than LSU.
Yeah.
And it's a small handful. It's not a
And
lot.
neither Ole Miss nor Florida are that.
No, they're not. They're not. Florida more so than Ole Miss, but still not. There's a reason Florida's only had a couple of glimpses of greatness during their entire history. Other than that, the whole rest of it, you take out Spurrier's decade of the 90s and that stretch, how long Urban was there, 8 years or so. Outside of that, it's a whole lot of not much at Florida. Uh, so,
Um, what did you? Well, let's go over. Let's do things by the notes.
okay.
Finally, Fish gets his guy. This is the guy I wanted 5 years ago. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that some of y'all are coming around to my way of thinking. Some still aren't. Some are like, ah, man, I don't know. But I don't know what you guys are expecting. Uh,
Uh,
you see people
well,
say, well, he don't even have any championships. What has he won? He's
uh,
won more games than anybody in a 6 year stretch at Ole Miss by a lot.
yes. I tell you, he wasn't my first choice, but that was more of a stylistic thing than anything. I got nothing against Lane. I don't care that he flamed out a decade ago when he took a job that he had no business actually having yet in his career, and it didn't work.
Talking about
Since
the
then,
Raiders,
I'm talking about all of it, the Raiders, even USC at that.
USC. That's more
I
than a
mean,
decade, though, man. That's a
well,
long
yeah,
time ago.
USC, that was, yeah, it was actually. It's probably about 12, 15 years now, but
That's what I don't understand. People get over it.
those jobs, if you look, and Kiffin mentioned it in the presser today, he's had a very strange career trajectory. And that's because he was offered, and obviously he took jobs that he
He
probably
wasn't ready
wasn't
for
qualified for. He was not ready for. You don't get your first ever head coaching job in your early 30s in the NFL. That just doesn't happen with only he only had like 2 years of coordinator experience before that. Uh,
Right.
he wasn't at Tennessee long
He
enough to
was
judge.
very immature. He was
He
drinking.
was. But
Um,
he was also young and didn't know. He got those jobs mainly based off of his last name
sure.
and who he'd worked for. But even then, you go over to USC, and the other thing everybody tends to forget about USC is they got hammered and were on
Crippling
probation with
sanctions.
severe scholarship limitations his entire time there. So he wasn't even playing with a full deck, let alone the stack deck that you would typically have at a school like that. And I mean, honestly, USC still hasn't recovered from
Nope.
those sanctions. And he
No.
was the guy who was there. I mean, everybody was allowed basically free agent transfer out. His first year, he was down to like 70 scholarships to start the season.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to hold that against him at all. I wanted Brent Key. I was pretty open about that, and that was more just because Brent Key is more of the style of football I prefer to play.
See,
That was
and
my
I'll go that I liked Brent Key. I don't think he's ready for an LSU type job, but I did like him for the same reason you say because of the style. But the reason why Lane was my number one was not because of his name or anything like that. It was actually because of the style. Because how many years straight have we been saying, man, we got to run the football? Well, we're about to run the football,
right.
boys, but it ain't running it like normal. It's like he
Correct.
took and he talked about this a little bit in his press conference about he took, the Bryles tree, but he runs the ball instead of passing the ball like that.
He he basically to me perfected, and this is going to sound like an insult, but it's really not. Uh, he kind of perfected that power zone read type option offense that Gus Malzahn ran, which
Mhm.
Gus Malzahn, it was the same type and style of offense, but Kiffin is way better at it, perfected it more. Everything, it's good power runs, you got good O-line work, it's holes are there, you got the reads, you still and he spreads it and throws the ball a lot better. But it's kind of like he married Gus Malzahn's offense with an air raid offense
Bryles.
from the
Yeah,
Bryles.
yeah. Yeah, it's an
He
incredible, and
found that.
he's a savant. A lot of people after the presser, I kind of, I wish I could poll, and maybe I will poll in the forum because I want to know what people thought about the press conference and what they thought about Lane because he was exactly what I expected him to be. He's a nerd, and he's what is Shane Gillis? You ever seen that the comedian Shane Gillis
No,
talks
I
about there's people on his side of the family that uh have Down syndrome, and he says, I got nicked, I'm a little touched, and Lane's not Down syndrome, but he's he's touched on the spectrum somewhere, I think, in a good
I
way.
think so.
In a good
Um,
way. He's a savant.
yeah,
He's an
and then like you
offensive
said,
football savant.
he's a nerd, and I know you
Definitely a
mentioned it
nerd.
before. He's heavy on analytics, which
Mhm.
I will say from what I've seen the last few years, he does look like he's not shying away from the analytics, but trusting his feel and gut more in certain situations. Because there was a time a couple years ago, even where I'd have been leery about him because he was too reliant on, well, the
Analytics.
analytics say this. And you're right. The analytics basically is pretty much if you're a gambler, it's your odds. What do the odds say? Whereas now I think he's shying away from being 100% analytics and more so of, okay, the flow of the game. Yeah, analytics might say this, but the flow of the game says this. And he's kind of balancing that out better now than what he was a couple years ago.
Um, I'll say this, and I'll be careful once we get rolling with Kiffin. Like I can't wait till next season, dude. And I'm not expecting anything, but I can't wait just to see the LSU offense and the play calling and the execution and the discipline that you
Yeah,
see on Ole Miss right now. But what I'm curious about is how am I going to react the first time it's 4th and 5 from our own 30, and he says, "Spot the ball, let's go for it." Like, what are you doing, dude? Because he does
right.
that a lot.
He
But you know
does.
what?
He does it in strange spots and
He's
situations.
about 70% in 4th down. And I ain't talking about like he's 7 out of 10. No, he's like 28 out of 40 this year.
Yeah, he's
I see you looking it up.
I'm gonna give it to you in just one second. Give me one second because I have all of this readily available. Ole Miss right now is 18 of 27.
Okay, 18 of 27. So he's 66%,
Yep, 66.67.
66.7%. Of 18 of 27. What's LSU? Like 5 of 8 something?
7 of 12.
7 of 12. Okay. So way more than double, though.
Yeah.
And that's the point. I mean, he goes for it a lot on fourth down, y'all. And sometimes it's in crazy situations. I've seen him doing it. I'm like, don't make me question the fact that I want you on my sideline, man. What are you doing?
And that's what I'm saying. In years past, he would have, because see, he's gonna know the actual numbers. If you punt here versus don't punt, you go for it, the exact, and then there's literally the people who put these analytics together, or just straight numbers guys who don't even know what a football looks like. All they're looking at is numbers on a spreadsheet and calculating which gives you the best
Moneyball.
set. It's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
It works on averages,
Yeah.
with which means you need a large set of data to for it to balance out. It's not going to balance out if you only do it 3 or 4 times. You need it over the
Oh, yeah.
long haul. More often than not,
Sure.
it will succeed. And but what I was saying, what I think he's kind of shied away from is relying on that purely, to now he's got a
Uses
better
instinct.
understanding of, yeah, the analytics say this, but right now my team's not, this isn't looking right.
My
We
left
don't have
tackle's
it.
out or whatever. Or my left
Correct.
tackle's nicked up.
Yeah, something's just not right. The flow of the game isn't right. The weather, all of that all plays into it.
Yeah.
And I think he's diving more into that and picking his spots for it more
Yeah.
so now than what he was in the past.
So real quick, I was gonna just kind of sticking to the notes. We were gonna talk about, and I'll throw it out there real quick, I guess. But Saban, um, in my opinion, and Lane Kiffin said it himself, was very influential in Lane coming to LSU. So thanks, Nick. But
Absolutely.
Saban was right in my opinion when he talked about this, not this past weekend, but the one before on game day, when he said the problem with all this is the timing, the calendar, and so forth. I think it is a calendar issue because of the fact that you got National Signing Day, which used to be in February. But now you got early signing day. Well, now early signing day is when everybody signs almost everybody. So that is signing day, and it's 2 days from right now. And the season's not even really over. We haven't even got to the championship games. And
Correct.
that's a bad time for coaches to be leaving or starting anew, you know? And so that's a calendar issue. And then the other one is they just changed to one portal window, and it's January 2nd through 15th. And hello, the playoffs will still be going on.
Right. Even if you take coaches changing jobs out of it, who was I think it was David Pollock. Saw it today. He brought up
Were you
a
in Coates
wonderful
Hall?
point. Huh?
Were you in Coates Hall?
I was not, but I did hear that his motor never stops, and him and David Green were played Little League ball together.
Okay.
Um, but he mentioned, in what other sport do you have a very limited, you have the draft and a very limited free agency period, all happening during the postseason, and
Right.
that's, no other sport does that, none. So
Right.
even if you take the coaching part out of it and just look at that part of the calendar, is just wrong. I'm sorry,
It
it
is.
just
It's
is.
stupid, but it's
Um,
really
you know,
compounded with the coaching.
signing day being in early February was great. It should have stayed that way.
Hmm.
It just should have. Uh, I'm not really sure. Ideally, when would the best portal time be? I would think it should be shortly after signing day and call it
I think it
mid-February
should be
and
after
extend it.
spring ball.
Um, that's not a bad one either. With and then you could throw out you can put the little asterisk mark where if your coach leaves for any reason, it
Okay,
opens a
yeah,
window for
whatever.
those particular players. I get that. I understand if you want to put that as a
Caveat.
footnote, but yeah, this needs to happen after the season's completely over and done and finished. The season's over. Because at that point, I mean, hell, look, you're right now you're going into signing day and you don't even know which underclassmen are leaving for the NFL. You don't know which underclassmen are going to leave for the portal. You don't know any of that, and you get expected to go and sign this recruiting class, and then your portal to fill holes, and you don't even know where your holes are yet.
Right.
I
So,
mean,
all right. We didn't spend too much time on that because I didn't want to because we've got so much. The next thing I had on my list was the staff, but when I sent this to you, Nooch, I didn't know who the staff was, and Nooch surprised me, and I told him, "Ooh, I just got this information," and he said, "Oh, dude, I had that before you got on the call here." So Nooch is going to present who the offensive staff is,
yes, it's
and
basically
this
it's
is
all
official.
yes, this is official. LSU has agreed and signed contracts with all of these guys. Basically, we took Ole Miss's entire offensive staff, which is great because one,
Let, let me
Ole Miss,
interject something right there. LSU had the 100 and umpteenth ranked offense this year. Ole Miss had a top 10 offense.
Ole Miss had the number three total offense in the country
Okay,
this
thank
year.
you. I was winging it, but okay,
I'll tell you
Ole
that
Miss had a top five offense.
over the last four seasons, Ole Miss finished number eight in the country in 22, 13 in the country in 23, number two in the country in 24, and number three in the country in this year in 25. And
Savant,
we
offensive
basically
savant.
took their entire offensive staff.
Hmm.
Uh,
Including
Charlie
Marky
White,
Mark.
yes, Charlie Weiss Jr. is your offensive coordinator.
He looks
Joe,
just like Marky Mark,
yes,
which is
Joe,
fascinating to me and new. How did that guy come out of Charlie Weiss?
I don't even. Um,
Oh,
Joe Cox is your tight end coach, who also has the co-offensive coordinator tag attached to him.
okay.
But let's be honest, this is Lane Kiffin's offense.
Yes.
Uh, George McDonald, wide receiver coach, passing game coordinator. Sawyer Jordan is inside wide receivers coach. We also got,
Mhm.
uh,
Interesting.
yes, interesting that they separate wide receiver from inside wide receiver. Um,
Let's spend a little time here. Hold on.
okay,
If you haven't watched Ole Miss play, and we talked about the run game, and they run the hell out of the ball, combined with pretty prolific. I mean, if you watched the Egg Bowl, you saw it.
yeah,
Prolific passing offense as well. And the kind of receivers that Ole Miss has had since Lane has been there, we're going to get to some players that I think are going to thrive. If they stick around, they're going to thrive
yeah,
at Ole Miss. Or I'm sorry, with in the Ole Miss system that Lane is bringing to LSU, they're going to thrive next season. And two out of the top five that I have are wide receivers.
yes,
Um,
two and a
Now,
half.
fair enough, two and a half. I'll give you that. Go ahead. You just gave something away, though. Go ahead.
Yeah, but also we're taking their strength and conditioning coach, Nick Savage.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
So
Uh, and their director of player personnel, Mike Williams.
let me ask you a
We
question. Who's the offensive line coach?
don't know yet.
That's a little concerning because I'm
I
sorry.
it
If
it
I don't think Brad Davis, and whatever.
I don't think he's keeping Brad Davis, but
You
until there's
can't keep
someone
Brad
other than I
Davis.
agree, but I like I told you, I'm a superstitious guy. Until they tell me it's somebody different, I'm
I
good.
understand. I agree
You
with you
know,
on that, but yeah, I was a little
uh
disappointed when you told me you rattled off those names. I'm like, who was the offensive line coach? Because I didn't hear
yeah,
that. And
yeah,
in my opinion, um, the day that Brian Kelly and certainly the day Joe Sloan was fired, Brad Davis should have been out the door. And I hate to say that because he's recruited well allegedly, but the product on the field doesn't reflect it.
right. I agree. Um,
So,
but in this, first off, obviously it's amazing because Ole Miss has had a great offense for years now.
mhm.
So it's really
Like six
freaking good
years.
that these are the guys that we got. But it's kind of like that double whammy because not only did we bring in this amazing offensive staff, you took them away from an annual
Right.
conference rival. So they no
Yeah.
longer have them. So it's kind of that, it's like a double win right there. Which I'm excited for it. We're ready. And then now let's go. Here's your guys that the ones who benefit from this.
Well, I'll say on the defensive staff, we don't know much.
We don't know. We know that Blake Baker has been told that
If you
he
want to
welcome.
stay,
Yes, if you want to stay, you can. But he also interviewed at Tulane today,
Right.
Tulane is his alma mater. He played at Tulane, and they did interview him for the head coaching job.
Right.
Uh, they are conducting more interviews, so that doesn't mean that he's going to be offered. Doesn't mean he's going to take it, but that possibility's out there.
Yeah. So we wait
Yeah,
because without the defensive coordinator, well, you don't know who the other coaches are going to be either. So we
yeah.
wait. You gotta figure out the defensive coordinator. So I got my list, and I'm assuming you have maybe some tweaks, but I'll go with mine.
I don't really have any tweaks. I'm good with your list. I'm just got a little note I'm gonna add to one of yours.
Okay, so I have number one is Trey Green. Now, Trey's got to learn how to catch a little better, but
I was gonna ask if Lane's bringing a jugs machine.
I would imagine so. I would imagine so. Because like I say again, I don't know if you watch Ole Miss at all, but man, their guys make some serious contested catches. And it kind of reminds me of watching a Jamar Chase or a Terrace Marshall just go up and take the ball,
Yeah,
and that's what his receivers have done for several years now at Ole Miss. So I would think so. Yes, they work on catching the ball, which clearly we
good.
did not do after Joe Brady was gone. Now, so Trades Green is my number one. Now I put 1A Harlem Berry. And the reason why, and I like that Nooch remembered me saying this because I already saw his notes next to mine.
Yes.
He showed them to me. But I've said all along, since before the season, I said Harlem Berry is going to remind you a little bit of a Reggie Bush type, the way he runs. He's smaller now, but he's going to grow and already has grown. But he's got that style. And Nooch pointed out, and I had forgotten about this, but Lane Kiffin was the offensive coordinator at USC when Reggie Bush was there.
When the Reggie Bush's Heisman year,
Yeah,
Lane Kiffin was his offensive coordinator.
yeah. So yeah, Harlem Berry.
Yes.
My next two are wide receivers, and they're both similar in one way, shape, or form here. And it's kind of what I was just talking about. These receivers that Lane has had at Ole Miss that just go up and take the ball, and that's I got Nick Anderson and Destin Hill. Now the reason I have those guys, and to be honest with you, I'm about 98% positive Destin Hill still has eligibility. I know he does because he hardly played at Florida State at all. Um,
Well, I mean, did he play in 4 games here? If not, he's got a redshirt year just here.
Maybe so let's just assume he's got eligibility, but he's been out of high school a while. But that really doesn't matter. He could go pro, but he hasn't put anything on paper yet or on
Okay.
film. But let's say he stays and Nick Anderson stays. That's two big body, physical receivers that will thrive under Lane Kiffin's offense.
Yeah.
They'll thrive. Now, this inside wide receivers coach, I don't know anything about that, but that would have been maybe something for Xavier Thomas or Aaron Anderson, and both of those guys
Right.
are gone. Maybe Kyle Parker thrives.
Aaron Anderson does have a year of eligibility
I don't
left.
think he's coming back though.
I don't either, but he does have that year,
He
and
does. I would love it if he would.
we'll see because I don't know how draftable he is. I mean, he's draftable, but I don't know how high he'll go, how high he'll be graded this year
Maybe Lane can talk him into it.
versus correct. If he can come back in this type of offense and put up ridiculous numbers, shit, dude, the NFL loves those small slot guys.
Hmm.
If
Oh
you can
yeah,
come in and
definitely.
put film out that you can do it at a high level, he's the type of person who could really climb up a draft board with a great season.
He's got to stay healthy, but yes, I agree with that. That would be your inside guy, but he's not on my top five because I don't think he's coming back.
Right.
My next guy, number five, is Whit Weeks. If he stays, he benefits the most from Lane Kiffin being the LSU head coach because he doesn't have so far to visit Landry.
Correct.
So that's my
Um,
take. And I will say this, I wrote this list out before that press conference. Whit was on the front row during the
yeah.
press conference. I don't know if you knew that.
Um,
Yeah, he was right
I'm
there.
gonna lean towards Witt's probably staying.
I
Uh,
hope so, man.
I think so because now this is back to back. So the back to back injury years, is both good and bad for LSU. It's good because I think Witt probably wants to have a better draft film, his highlight reel film that they show on draft day than what he's got. But also at the same time, that's now back-to-back injury years where you've missed some time for it. Man, what happens if you get a third one? Now
Well,
draft,
and to compound it, it's the same ankle. It's the same leg. It's different injuries, but it's the same leg, same lower
yeah,
leg.
and that's kind of what I mean is now you start hurting your draft stock because now those NFL GMs are going to be like, oh man, this guy's hurt
Yeah.
every.
Yeah, it
So
would be
it's
nice if he could come back
kind
and
of a
put
toss
together
up.
a whole year. And to anybody, that's my man crush we're talking about. And to anybody that thinks that or thought that he was opting out or whatever, he was, it was a bunch of crap.
He's
Dude,
playing
the
with a broken
game where he
bone.
broke his ankle, the game where he broke his ankle was broken. That game, he had 13 tackles. Shut up.
Yeah,
Shut up. And he didn't break it at the end and get carried off. He kept playing.
yeah. He played 2 weeks later against South Carolina
That's right.
before sitting out a while.
Yeah.
Uh,
So I don't want to hear it.
you can tell just by his personality in interviews, he's not an opt out guy.
Nope.
He's not a guy who's going to ever opt out, ever.
No. No. He'll play in whatever bowl game we play.
Yeah.
He played the other night. He played pretty well. Um, man, what do you have to say about the who benefits the most?
I Harlem Berry was my main guy. That was the one to me, just because. And you brought up a good point. Durham's going to be back.
Yeah, we're kind
Who
of
knows
overlooking
if,
him.
who knows if a Kyron Lacey maybe decides to hit the portal and come this
Kawan.
way? You
Kawan.
know, yeah, you're right,
Kawan.
Kawan. Wow. Yeah, I don't think
Yep.
Kyron's playing.
No,
Um,
he's not playing.
or even a running back we don't even know about.
Yeah.
Who's out there? We have no clue. Um, my main thing is now, and I don't follow recruiting or the portal. I can't wait to see what because we have serious roster needs that need to be fixed. If we don't fill these holes, I'm sorry, Lane, you're just
Good
it's
luck
not going to
next
work.
year.
Yeah, good luck. We
Yeah.
need quarterbacks with an S.
Yeah.
We need an entire O line and O line system. So I mean these are holes that obviously before you set expectations for next year, we need to see who we're bringing in because bodies need to be brought in. At the moment, we don't even have bodies at quarterback next season.
We got a
So
minute, and there's something important we need to talk about before we go, and this will be the
okay,
last thing. And you mentioned recruiting. They mentioned it in the broadcast during the Alabama Auburn game the other night, and they said LSU sitting there without a coach with a top 10 class. Um, Thank you,
yeah,
Frank Wilson, for that. Thank you very much, Corey
yes,
Raymond and Frank Wilson and Austin Thomas, who probably will not remain. But Frank and Corey, thank you. Corey better stay.
yeah.
Corey got
Uh,
to stay. Frank, I would love Frank to stay, but I want Lane to bring in who he wants.
yeah. I think Frank will have some type of job at LSU. What that job is, I don't know yet.
I don't know.
We'll see.
All right, so y'all come join us at GameDayTigers.com. Nooch laid out the offensive staff. I imagine in the next couple of days we're going to be able to fill out that defensive staff. Y'all come check it out. Let's talk about it. Go
Yeah,
Tigers.
absolutely. Go Tigers.
Yes, sir.